Hi, my name is Beverly Bolnick, National Sales Manager at NMP, and I would like to welcome you to National Mortgage Professional Magazine's webinar titled Time to Renovate, Improve Their Home While Improving Your Business, sponsored and presented by Renovate. I would like to thank all of our webinar attendees for taking the time out of their busy days for this very valuable and informative webinar in our ongoing series of webinars. If you have questions during the webinar, please be sure to send them via the Questions tab on your GoToWebinar console, and we'll try to answer as many questions as possible by the end of the webinar. Those questions that we don't get to answer, however, we're going to actually be sending them over to Renovate, and they will be answering them and sending them out via email tomorrow to all registrants. So if we don't get to your question, we will definitely answer it. Before we get started, we're going to start with a poll question today just to see who's in our audience today. If you could just answer on your screen, the choices are broker, lender, appraiser, realtor, or other. All right, I'm going to give you a few more seconds to answer, and then I will share the results. Okay, I'm going to share the results now. So 42% of you are brokers, 50% are lenders, 0% appraisers. We have no appraisers. 2% realtors, and 6% other. And then there's just one other follow-up question we have for you before we get started, and that is, are you currently an approved broker with Renovate? You can just answer yes or no on your screen. All right, I'm going to close that one up now as well. And 55% of you said yes, and 45% said no, so we're pretty split. All right, without any further ado, I will turn things over to Frank Perugini, who is the sales manager at Renovate Wholesale.
Thank you very much, Beverly, and thank you very much for everyone for joining us today. I'm very excited to share this opportunity with all of you. I see we have a pretty mixed group of real estate and mortgage professionals with us today, and I promise you, you are going to take some value add out of this very informative presentation today. We tend to shy away from the unknown, right? And the renovation products, and we're going to talk a little bit more about them in detail today. Sometimes we kind of get scared as the things we don't know, and we want to kind of get rid of the scary part of this. And Steve Marshall and Pam Seifert, who are going to kind of run with this with us today, are going to get a little bit more detail and show you how this isn't really that scary when you boil down what these programs and products are. Renovate Wholesale, we have a wide range of products that are available to all of our customers and clients. And a testament to that is we're turning 25 this year. We wouldn't have been able to do that if we were a one-hit wonder. But that being said, I cannot discount the relevance of the renovation products today for all of us at this point in time in our industry. And thanks to the leadership and the foresight of people within our organization, like Steve Marshall, we have become at Renovate Wholesale one of the leaders of the renovation products in our industry in a very short amount of time. And Steve, I'm sure, is going to speak more to that fact as we go on. Moving on, so what I do want to just touch on real quick is I'm going to go over the agenda, and I'm going to talk a little bit about Steve and Pam. Pam is our National Director of Training, and both Steve and Pam come with years of hands-on experience with the renovation products in all different lines. So they are very well versed, and I'm very excited to share their insight with all of you today. Moving on to the agenda, so we're going to discuss the housing industry, a little bit of a state of the union as to what's going on out there right now. The Renovation Solutions is going to touch on how do we take advantage of the opportunities that are available with what is happening right now out there. Then we're going to get into a little bit on the 203K, FHA's version of the renovation, and we're going to go into detail on Fannie Mae's home style renovation product. Next, we're going to actually get into a little bit more on the general process, step by step, kind of make that a little bit easier for us to understand. And then Steve is also going to get into, this is my favorite part, the sales and the marketing and the tips, and how do we maximize our exposure to this product line. And last, is the Q&A. We're going to be able to answer as many questions as possible, and as Beverly mentioned before, any questions that we don't get to at the end of this presentation, we are going to compile them and get those answers out to the rest of the group. You also get a copy of this presentation, and ultimately you can always reach out to one of your account executives or find us at RenovWholesale.com. That being said, without further ado, I'm going to hand it off to Mr. Steve Marshall.
Hey, thank you. Thank you, Frank. I want to thank everybody who took about an hour out of your busy summer schedule. I mean, August is the biggest vacation time of the year, and the fact that we have about 900 participants today of mortgage professionals and real estate professionals is a real testament to our industry. Here's my pledge to you all today. For you giving up an hour of your time, I hope that at the end of this presentation, at the end of this hour, we have given you enough tools and information to implement in your business strategy the ability to pick up at least one more referral partner, i.e. one more real estate partner, one more real estate professional, and 3 more loans that you would be able to close and get paid on had it not been for this hour. So do the math. All of you can sit there and do the math, and you know what your average commission is. And my pledge is, if we really absorb this, if we're willing to step outside our comfort zone a little bit and really absorb why this is important in the market today, how you can utilize it, how you can build relationships, I'm sure this is going to be a very valuable payday. So what first I'd like to do is go over some real news clips. This is nothing that I've made up. This is something I've got off of Wall Street Journal and Bloomberg and Mortgage News Daily and just various other industry publications. So the next slide is literally, Pam, is from May 5th. Mark Fleming, who is the president of CoreLogic, and Lawrence Yoon, who is the chief economist for the National Association of Realtors, published an article that basically said the biggest challenge in our industry right now is housing obsolescence, and they defined housing obsolescence as houses, our housing stock, the inventory of existing homes, didn't meet the functional features that the buyers of today were looking for. They actually said that 26% of the active listings of existing homes did not have the functional features that the buyer of today is looking for. Then they talked about something called shadow demand. I think we all remember back in 2009, 10, and 11, they were talking about shadow inventory, and that was foreclosed homes that hadn't come on the market yet. Now they're talking about shadow demand, and what that means is now that the market has increased and people may have equity in their home, they would love to sell their existing home and buy the next home, but they can't find a home that they like and what meets all of their demands. So properties that are no longer desirable and have the characteristics to meet their needs. Next slide. On June 22nd, and I also read an article yesterday in Mortgage News Daily that said cash sales represent 33%, 1/3 of all the sales in the United States right now are being paid by cash. For those of us that are in the mortgage business, that means that what we're fighting for is a smaller percentage of the pie. First-time home buyers, it is now at 27%. It is a historical low for first-time home buyers. Now, that right there, that statistic right now looks negative. However, there was an article written yesterday that shows the positive feature of it. Although first-time home buyers only account for 27% of the total market, they do account for 56% of the financed market, because these first-time home buyers are not paying cash, so they're not part of that 33% of transactions that are all cash transactions. So the first-time home buyer is still a very significant factor in the mortgage process. Next slide. Homeownership. Homeownership is at a 19-year low. It's the lowest that it's been since 1995. Now, the homeownership rate is annualized at 64.8%. If any of you are listening from the Midwest part of the country, your area has the highest home ownership in the United States. If, unfortunately, those people from the Northeast part of the country, you guys right now are experiencing the lowest home ownership rates. Look at that last piece. Home ownership of people under the age of 35 is roughly 36%. That age group is a combination of what is known as the Echo Boomer generation and the Millennium generation. The U.S. Census Bureau estimates that there's approximately 78 million of these people in the United States. It's the second largest socioeconomic group in the history of the United States, second only to the baby boomers. So I don't care if you're in mortgages, title, real estate, selling cars, selling boats. If you are in the customer service and you are in the sales industry, this is going to be the socioeconomic group that is really going to drive our economy for the next 20 years. And what they look for and what they expect and how they react is significantly different than their parents and grandparents did. So we're going to talk about that later in this hour. Next slide. On July 30th, Freddie Mac came out and said it's official. The refinance boom is over. Of course, we all know that last week the 10-year Treasury went down to below the 260 mark, and so all of a sudden people were talking about refinances again. But the fact of the matter is the percentage of refinance business has significantly dropped since its peak in the first quarter of 2013. Refinance activity right now is below 50%, and look at that last bullet point. Freddie Mac basically is saying that this is the first purchase-dominated marketplace that we've had since 2000. So those people who have relied on marketing to their existing database or buying leads or working in operations where you are literally working the phones, the percentage of those leads, percentage of those phones are going to start to tail off. So we need to find a way to regenerate your business. Next slide. So these are real challenges to our industry, but we are professionals and we are entrepreneurs. The reason why we have survived all these various market changes of the 1970s, 80s, 90s, all these peaks and valleys and recessions is because we're just not survivors, we're winners. So what we're going to be talking about over the next 45 minutes is the real life solutions of how we can take that information that is real and instead of the glass being half empty, not only turn that glass into half full, but actually have that glass just flowing over with liquid. And my next slide really talks about some memorable kind of quotes. Wayne Gretzky is known for his quote that says that great hockey players don't skate where the puck is. They skate to where the puck is going to be. So we as mortgage professionals, yeah, it's important for us to know where the market is today, where our business is coming from today, but maybe even more important, maybe we need to take some time, step outside our comfort zone, and say, to grow my business, where am I going to have to go? What am I going to have to do different? How's the market going to be in 6 months, a year, 18 months from now? Now, Les Brown, a very well-renowned motivational speaker from the Chicago area, and this is one of his most memorable phrases, is that, you can never expect to achieve a new goal or move beyond your present circumstances unless you're willing to change. he really says, and I use this phrase all the time, he says our life, our professional life, is like a book. And if you don't like it, if you don't like the way it's playing out, rewrite the chapter. If you don't like the way your business is going, if you don't like your income stream, you have the ability to change. Change sometimes is not comfortable, but change for the right reasons brings dramatic results. And Carl Markman, who is our national sales leader, who couldn't join us today because he is either in London or Paris, he says that if you continue to do what you're doing, you will continue to get the same results. So that's what we're going to try to challenge you to do today. So I'm going to turn it over to Pam, and Pam is going to, I believe, really give you some good information and education that will make you feel comfortable to step outside that comfort zone. And then I'm going to come back later on, and I'm going to show you how to take that comfort zone and turn it into sales and more referrals.
Great. Thank you, Steve. Beverly, I think we have another poll question at this time.
Yes, we do. I'm going to launch it right now up on the screen. So the question is, what is your experience level with renovation products? And the choices are, I'm an expert, I know a lot, but I need to know more, I know enough to be dangerous, or I don't know anything about renovation loans. If you could answer right now, I'll give you a few seconds to answer, and then I'll share the results. Okay, I'm going to close up the poll, and I'm going to share the results. All right, 3% of you said you're an expert. 31% said I know a lot, but I need to know more. 38% said I know enough to be dangerous. And 28% said I don't know anything about renovation loans. So this is a good group for our webinar.
Great. Okay, so we're going to take some time and talk about the actual rehab products themselves. We're talking about our 3 renovation options, the FHA 203K, both the Streamline and the Standard, as well as your Fannie Mae renovation product, the Home Style Loans. Now, all of the renovation options, they all work the same. They're going to allow your borrower to finance repairs and improvements with a single close, and the sales proceeds are going to be dispersed at closing. The borrower's contractors are going to complete the agreed-upon repairs after the loan closes, and then those contractors are going to receive repayment after completing the repairs based on a draw schedule. So all of the renovation products have the same premise. Let's talk about your FHA renovation program specifically. Those are your Streamline and your Standard. Now, both options allow for primary residences only, so no second homes, no investment properties. Your purchase LTV is going to be maxed out at 96.5%, and your refinances are going to be maxed out at an LTV of 97.75. There is no cash out refinances allowable on any renovation product, including your Streamline and Standard loans. We offer your high balance, which is acceptable, and you're going to also utilize your standard FHA credit underwriting. So if you have a gift, you're still going to document it the same way. If you have self-sufficiency issues, you're still going to have to document the same way. You need to think of the credit portion of this as a regular standard FHA loan. There is no difference. All of your contractors must be licensed and insured as your state requires. And those contractors are going to have to submit bids to your borrowers, who then are going to give it to the lender, and those bids have to be specific to the repair improvements. So it can't be general. They have to be broken out into material and labor. Luxury items are not allowed on both your Streamline and Standard projects. So what are the difference between your Streamline and Standard repairs? Your Streamline is going to be your uncomplicated improvements or repairs, where your Standard 203K is going to be more for your complicated projects that at times may need detailed plans, permits, inspections, etc. So when you're thinking about your borrowers and you're thinking about the homes that they're purchasing and you're looking at the repairs, just know that your uncomplicated repairs are going to be more towards your streamline, and your complicated repairs, so it's a tear down and build up, leaving the foundation, you're going to be using your standard 203K product. Now your streamlines, they are limited to $35,000 in total rehab costs. Now that's not just from the contractor's bids, that's going to include the entire rehabilitation cost. That includes contingency reserves, your draw inspections, etc. The HUD consultant is not required for your streamlined 203K loans, and HUD never approves any of the contractors. It's going to be your lender's responsibility to accept the contractors. Your streamline allows for 2 draws, and some lenders, such as Rem and Wholesale, will disperse 50% of the labor and material at time of closing. So your contractor at closing is going to receive 50% of their labor and materials up front, and then when the work is completed, they'll receive the remainder. Here's a list of your 203K streamline eligible repairs. You're going to see that you're able to repair, replace, and even upgrade roof, gutters, door spouts, heating, cooling systems, plumbing, electrical, carpet, flooring. You're going to be allowed to do minimal remodeling of kitchens and bathrooms, no structural repairs, painting exterior and exterior, window and door replacements, minimal basement finishing and remodeling, and also stabilization of lead paint and lead paint abatement. You're also going to be able to provide improvements for persons with disabilities, and you can see a complete list of your 203K streamline eligible repairs in your mortgagee letter 05-19 and 0550. Streamline 203Ks, which you're not allowed to do, and we talked about this in the slide previous, that is going to be for your uncomplicated repairs. So there's not going to be any major rehabilitation, so no relocation of load-bearing walls, no room additions, no new constructions. Any repairs requiring detailed drawings or architectural exhibits must go standard, not streamline. And there cannot be any repair of structural damage. So when you're really thinking about your 203K product and you're thinking how it can fit into your borrower, you need to think about repairs, improvement, and modernization, not any kind of major complicated repairs. Your standard 203K loans, there is a minimum cost of repairs for $5,000, but there's no maximum amount. So streamlined, you're limited to the $35,000, but your standard 203K is that there is no maximum. Your project is going to be managed by your HUD-approved consultant, and you're going to be able to find a list of your HUD-approved consultants at www.hud.gov. The borrower can finance up to 6 months of PITI if the home is uninhabitable. So if the HUD consultant goes to the property and they say that the borrower cannot possibly live in the home while it's going through the renovations, we can then finance up to 6 months of your PITI while your borrower is not living in the home. Your inspections are required and up to 5 draws are permitted. We allow up to 1 general contractor, and this is also a difference between your streamline and your standard. No funds for material or labor is going to be dispersed at closing. Your eligible repair list, this one is up for anything. You can have your room additions, you can move your load-bearing walls, you can remodel your kitchen and bathroom, you can provide your borrower with energy-efficient appliances, you can remodel your basement, mold, lead pavement abatement, and water damage, well and septic systems, and anything that's on your 203K streamline eligible list, you could throw onto your standard 203K loans too. So this one, you're going to think replace, construct, and demolish. Now for your home style renovation program loans. These are your Fannie Mae conventional options. Your borrowers are going to be able to make renovations, repairs, and improvements that total up to 50% of the as completed value of the property. So if you have a home and the as completed value with all the repairs of that home is $200,000, you can have total repair costs up to $100,000. And the important thing here is that we're talking about the as completed value. Homestyle really does not care about what the as is value is. They only care about the after improved value, the as completed value. They offer also a purchase and rate and term refinance, and once again, there is no cash out to the borrower. For your Homestyle loan, there's no minimum or maximum repair amount. Homestyle is offered on 1 to 4 unit owner-occupied properties, as well as 1 unit second homes and 1 unit investment properties. Remember, that's different than your 203K, your FHA option, which is only on owner-occupied homes. The subject property may be existing or new, and as with any conventional loan, if you have an LTV above 80%, you're going to require your standard MI. Your loan amount is going to be determined on the future value, as I said before, once the repairs are completed, and not the current as-is value. So when you're looking at your FHA products versus your Homestyle products, and you have, especially important on refinance loans, FHA max calculations for your loan amounts require to determine what the as-is value is. Your Homestyle, you're not subject to know what the as-is value is. They don't care. Fannie Mae only cares about what the future value is going to be. So with your Homestyle repairs, those repairs have to be permanently affixed to the property and add value. That's what Fannie Mae wants. So you can do interior renovation or improvements, your fences and landscaping, decks, in-ground swimming pools you're even able to add. You are able to add your luxury items as long as they're affixed to the property and they add value. Now, one caveat is that appliances, and this is especially important because we know kitchen renovation is so hot right now, that appliances that are not permanently affixed are not eligible for the Homestyle program. The rehab can also not include any new constructions of outbuildings that are not attached to the property. So your detached garages, your pool houses, your shed and barns, those are not going to be eligible for Homestyle. So at Renovate Wholesale, we created this chart, and this chart has the 3 columns for your 3 different renovation options. They're your 203K Streamlines, your 203K Standard Consultant Loans, and your Fannie Mae Homestyle Loans. And here you can see we go down and we actually break down so that you have an easy chart to compare each of the products that your borrower may utilize. Once again, this presentation and this chart will be available after the presentation is over and will be sent to everyone's email. So let's talk a little bit about max loan calculations, some similarities on purchases for all of your renovation loans. So your 203K and your Fannie Mae Homestyle use the same mortgage calculation on all the purchase transactions. You're going to take the lower of your sales price plus your total renovation costs or the after improved value. And like I said, this is part of the max calculation. So it's sales price plus total renovation costs or the lower of the after improved value. What's different, though, is that FHA for the after improved value is going to take 100% of that after improved value for non-condos. Fannie Mae is going to use 100% of the after improved values. And I'm going to show you how this can make a difference. So if you have a sales price of $100,000 and your total renovation costs are $50,000, your total acquisition then is $150,000. We're just adding your sales price plus your total renovation costs. Fannie Mae would require the after improved value to be $150,000 because remember it's the lower of. FHA would only require the after improved value to be $136,500. So you could see that FHA with the after improved value, you're able to get a little bit more bang for your buck for the after improved value. So when you're looking at your loan amounts and you're comparing both products, please make sure when you're looking at your max loan amount, look at FHA's after improved value versus Fannie Mae. You can get a lot more house out of your FHA homes. So the renovation process in general is the borrower is going to select that property. They're going to also select the lender as well as the contractors. Your lender is always going to review the contractor's plans and bids and accept the contractor. The appraisal will be ordered to determine the as-completed value. Your lender is going to calculate your max loan amount and underwrite the loan and clear the loan for closing. Once the loan closes, the renovation work begins. And based on the predetermined draw schedule, the lender is going to be contacted every time a draw is required. The lender will order their proper inspections, including the final one, to ensure all the work has been completed, and then the lender will release the funds to the borrower and the contractor. It's really that simple. Now, I know we broke it down into the 9 simple steps, but if you look at it overall, really, that's all that we're doing here. Remember, there's not going to be any time there's going to be no cash back to the borrower, no cash out is allowed, not on the HUD one, not in the loan type, and any unused funds are going to be used to pay down the principal of the loan. We cannot give back any money to the borrower. So before we move on to improving your business plan, and Steve's going to take this back over, Beverly, I think we have additional poll questions.
Yes, we do. We have one more. So we're going to launch that right now. Do any of your business partners have home listings that are not moving? And you can answer yes or no. Okay, I'm going to close up the poll and share the results. And unfortunately, 74% of you said yes, and 26% of you said no.
Hey, Beverly. Beverly, maybe it's fortunate that 74% dialed into this call today, because we're going to show them how they can step out and help their referral partners liquidate and sell those properties that have been sitting on the market. So, real quick, before I go into this slide and move forward, I just want to tell you guys a real live story that happened down in Maitland, Florida, which is a suburb of Orlando. And it's going to go in and actually show you, remember Pam was just, what, 3 slides ago, Pam? I think you were showing them that both FHA and Fannie Mae look at the after-improved value, but Fannie Mae only looks at 100% of the after-improved value, where FHA looks at 110%. Some people may have looked at that and yawned a little bit or went, yeah, that sounds strange, but I don't really understand that. Let me show you how you can put that in practice and really explode your business. There's a loan officer in the Orlando area who is a very good loan officer. This loan officer consistently does about $30 million a year, so she's a real relationship-driven type of individual. Last year, she closed 10 FHA 203K loans, 10 of them. Not one of those 10 loans started out as a 203K. She has all the information. She has all the education. She really knows how to do these projects. But her sales tactic is a little different. And so there were 10 times during the course of last year where she got a help me call from somebody because they were doing a 203B and the property underappraised. Now, most of the time, these properties underappraised for 5% or less of the anticipated sales price. But in Orlando, maybe like a lot of your markets, you literally have a lot of short sales, you have some REOs, and or you just have sellers that don't have any excess equity, and you have buyers that don't have any excess cash. So, when the property underappraises, what do you do? Well, she had enough knowledge where she was able to take that 203B, flip it into a 203K with some very minor type of adjustments. New painting, maybe updating the HVAC system, maybe new flooring, i.e. take out the carpet, put hardwood floors, put new appliances in it. Things that the borrower, when they realized that they could do them and it wasn't that expensive, the borrower really, really back that, really like that fact. In all 10 cases, she was able to then take a property that underappraised on a deal that was falling apart, and because it was a 203K, she could then go to 110% of the after improved value, and all 10 of those deals closed. So those deals were not going to close because the other lender just either didn't have the product or didn't have the insight of how to do it. And she sold and settled all 10 of those. Now, the beauty of it was not just about those 10 loans. She stood up in an audience that I was given. I had 100-plus people in the room. And she said as a result of that, she picked up about another 25 loans from those real estate agents because they were so thankful and they trusted her so much because she was able to solve their problems where other people were simply looking to the seller to reduce the price or the buyer to come up with more cash. So real life situation. Can you imagine that? She got about 35 loans simply because of information and education, and she knew how to solve somebody's problems. So what are the real benefits of a 203K to a buyer? It's a single loan. It's not a construction perm loan. It's a single FHA insured loan or a single Fannie Mae loan. No additional cash. Pam brought this up. You know what, we really look at these loans and say there's no mystery. It's an agency loan with a construction rider. That's all. But the borrower is able to customize their home for their preference. You know, they're buying somebody else's house, but now they're able to customize it the way they want it. They have an opportunity to build equity and wealth. HUD states, and I don't know if this statistic probably is true, but it probably varies from different parts of the country. But a home that is retrofitted, a home that is renovated, typically the after improved value ranges between 4 and 8% above the total acquisition cost. So just think about this. You're showing people how to build equity in your local marketplaces in 2014. So you take them FHA. Let's say the they put 3.5% down. Let's say the after improved value after all the improvements are done is 5% higher. So they get all the improvements done. They make 6 mortgage payments. You refinance them out of the FHA into a regular conventional loan. Now you've got an LTV that might be 95 or 90. You've got lower MI, and if your LTV is closer to 90, maybe you do a one-time upfront premium and literally eliminate the mortgage insurance. You are now showing somebody how to build wealth and equity in investing in real estate. So plenty of benefits to your borrowers. Well, what about to the sellers? Well, the next slide shows that the benefit to the sellers is if they're able to attract more buyers, sell the house faster, and they get a higher net proceed. Here's a real-life situation, and I am the real-life example. I go around the country speaking about this, and here's what really happened to my wife and I. We owned an investment property in Millersville, Maryland, which is right outside of Severna Park and Glen Burnie. We had owned that property for about 10 years, but 7 of those years, we never sold it. We had the same tenant for 7 years. We had to evict the tenant for various reasons. So when we took control of the house at the end of March, it was the first time we'd seen it in 7 years, and it was a mess. It was a total mess. So my wife and I talked, do we want to fix it up and rent it back out, or do we want to sell it? So I just said, let's sell it. We'll utilize our cash from it, and we'll reinvest it someplace else. So what I did was I got a friend of mine who is a HUD consultant, and he went out and did a feasibility study for me, and he charged me $275 for it. And I got a contractor friend of mine to also do a work write-up. And the real estate agent and I then put together some special flyers, and she put it in the multiple list and some other internet sites. And we talked about the rental capacity and the equity position of the after improved value and everything that I've always preached. We put it on the market, and we got a contract in 6 days. And his house is pretty rough. It was pretty beat up. We got a contract in 6 days. I countered the contract. They countered it back. I signed it. Within 9 days, we had a ratified contract, and in 41 days, we had a closed deal. My net proceeds were actually $1,700 higher than I had originally estimated that they would have been had I taken my own cash and fixed up the house and actually sold it at a higher price. So that's a real life situation. It actually happened to me. Try it. It works. Next slide. For the realtors, they're able to sell more listings and satisfy more buyers because it's all about referrals. I mean, our whole industry is a referral-based industry. And the more people we satisfy, the more commission income we have. Remember the statistic that came from the National Association of Realtors that 26% of the active listings sit there stale in the marketplace? Well, our real estate partners, that's their listings. They're actually spending their own money to market these properties and trying to get them sold. And if we can step in and we can show them and help them how to move these properties, we're no longer a vendor. We've now become a partner with these real estate professionals. Now, what about you originators? Because I know we get paid for doing loans, and I know that most of us are sort of transactional in our thought processes if we really were honest with ourselves. I mean, we look for that instant gratification, and what you, Steve Marshall, are talking about just sounds like a whole lot of work. Well, I'm going to tell you in a little bit where, yeah, it is a little bit more work, but when it works, boy, is it rewarding, because we are literally adding value. We become a value-added partner to our referral sources, which means we get more referrals. And the more referrals that we get, the more commission income we have. And in our industry, if you're not making money, this business is no fun. So I always tell people my first goal and objective is to help people put fun back in their profession. And fun starts by making more money and growing your business. Now here's how you're going to do it. Next slide. See, typically, we in the mortgage business have been taught to go after buyers because obviously we get paid for closing loans. So we get up in the morning, we get dressed, and we run out to our agents and we ask them if they have anybody that they need to be pre-qualified. And then we ask, do anybody need a mortgage? And we always are chasing that person who we perceive to have a buyer. And yet, the real estate industry will tell us that 50% of the transactions are listing transactions. So if we're only focused on the buy side of the equation, we've just eliminated half of our target market. And remember, 1/3 of all the transactions are cash. So if we can't get that portion that is cash, and we eliminate the listing side of the equation, the pool, the percentage of populations of transactions that we can actually get is minimized significantly. Well, I say, why not go after the listing agents? That is a segment of the market that has basically been ignored by mortgage professionals for decades. Oh, we say that we do. I mean, I myself, I was guilty of it for years, going, oh, yeah, I market to those listing agents. I didn't really do it. I said I did it. I might have sent them a thank you card. I might have, followed up and took them out to lunch. But I really never did anything to earn their trust and earn their business. So I call this the multiplier effect. And if we do it properly, we will get more business partners. And the more business partners we get, the more referrals we get. The more referrals we get, the more satisfied customers we have. And the more satisfied customers we have, the more referrals we get. It's a prophecy. It's by taking a segment of the market that our industry ignores and going after that segment. opens up doors for us because there's no competition for it. Next slide. The listing agents out there, and I think there was 6% of the people on this call are agents. The listing agents really need our service because they're on an island by themselves. They're sitting there trying to find out. They might have the right house in the right school district, in the right commuting distance to major metropolitan areas, might be close to the university, close to the hospital. But maybe this is a house that the Brady Bunch used. You know, the house that was you know, in the 1970s with the shag carpeting and the olive green in the kitchen and the peach in the bathroom. Yeah, maybe that was something that everybody liked back in the late 60s and early 70s, but that's not what the buyer of today is looking for. I say be bold. Be bold, step out of your comfort zone, and really approach these listing agents. Cold call the local brokers, the sales managers of the Remaxes and the Keller Williams and the Coldwell Bankers of the world, and literally ask, do they have any listings in their inventory that they thought would sell? It's in that right school district. It's in the right side of town where when you're commuting to and from work, you're commuting against traffic instead of with traffic. Can you imagine going out and literally assisting an office that might have 100 realtors in it with 5 listings that they can't sell or haven't been able to sell? And you actually put a scenario together just like I did for my own property. Now, I did do it from my property. But now let's say that we're doing it for somebody else's property. And let's say you get 1 or 2 of those sold. Maybe you don't get all 5 sold. But maybe you help 1 or 2 of those agents sell that property that couldn't be sold before. Can you imagine what the other agents in that office are going to be talking about? They're going to go, wait a minute. You mean you sold that house on Maple Avenue? That house that you've had for 6 months? You sold it, and wait a minute, and a lender helped you put together a package to sell it? I can't even get my lender to return my phone calls. And this agent goes, yeah, it was amazing. They came out with a whole team of people. There was a contractor, there was some energy rater guy from a company called Respo. I mean, you built your own team and you took it to the marketplace. All of a sudden, you become a partner to the agents in that office, because if the National Association of Realtors is correct, remember, it's their number, not my number. Every agent, 26% of their listing inventory needs a professional just like you. 26%, 1 out of every 4 listings that they have. Next slide. So create your own team. And I know we like to do things ourselves. And the real estate agents, because they're independent contractors, they always like to do things themselves. But I say create something that's bigger than ourselves. I mean, we are really good mortgage banker professionals. And you have real estate agents and real estate partners that are really good in the real estate side of the equation. Well, why not team up with a HUD consultant, a contractor, maybe a community activist? I actually had the ability to speak in Delaware, and it was the Delaware chapter of home counselors, where if you're going to use like the Delaware bond program, you have to go to this home counseling program, and they were there, and we had tremendous success with the 203K Streamline product after they really understood and they embraced it. Then you take your team and you then expand your network by doing home buyer seminars and home shows. Maybe you take it to community associations, but you're not doing it by yourself. I know one loan officer team that every quarter they do a social gathering, and it's the loan officer team with a HUD consultant, a title company, and a contractor. And each quarter they have between 12 and 14 real estate agents that attend, but each one of them pay 1/4 of the tab of the event. So it's a way in which they can get in front of 50 some realtors a year, and they're actually only paying for one of the events because there's 4 of them. Each of them pay 1/4. So just another way of being creative. Next slide. Staging distress sales. That's what I did on my property in Millersville, Maryland. The average home in that community was selling close to $300,000. I knew that I was going to need, after my contractor and my consultant went in, and we looked at all of the fire, health, and safety issues, the HUD minimum property standards, and what we perceived to be what the buyer of today was looking for. It was going to cost between $50,000 and $60,000 of renovations. So I looked at it and said, okay, if I put $50,000 or $60,000 into it, and I got to pay a 6% commission, and I'm going to pay 3% of the buyer's closing costs, I now even got to accelerate my listing price even higher. So we listed it as a renovation dream home, and we got a young borrower. It was a single girl, and her father happened to be a contractor, and they went with the Fannie Mae option so that Dad could actually be the contractor on the transaction. It was a 95% loan, and it closed in 41 days. So as real estate professionals, focus on location, location, location. You can change anything about a house, but what you can't change is the location of the property. Focus on the amenities of the community and the school districts, and what the quality of the home is going to be like after the renovation is complete. Do you know the National Association of Realtors puts out a survey every year of all the home buyers and all the home sellers, and it runs from July 1st through June 30th, and the results are published on the first week of every November. Well, last year's published report showed that 14% of all the sales were to multi-generational households, where you had more than one family coming together to buy a house, whether they be adult children, grandparents, parents, etc. What does a family looking for a multi-generational household? More than likely, they're looking for more than one master suite. Maybe they're looking for a master suite on a first floor. And the homes, or maybe they're looking for a certain school district. And the homes that were built don't have those features. We as professionals can show them that they can pick the right school district that they want, and we can help them create the home of their dreams. Next slide. Here's something I was in Delaware. Georgia. Gainesville, Georgia. Didn't even know that Georgia had a town called Gainesville. I kept thinking I was in Gainesville, Florida. And I was giving this presentation to their Association of Realtors. There was a woman sat right up front. She raised her hand. She said that she had a young girl that she had shown her 76 homes. She had shown her every home in the county in her price range and could not get her to put a contract in. So I don't know what overcame me, but I said, gee, I've never been to Gainesville, Georgia, and I've never been to a county where the real estate agents just get paid for showing houses. So everybody laughed. And this woman says, well, we don't get paid for showing houses. And I said, well, you have to, because you've shown her 76 homes. Everybody laughed. So I started talking about the checklist system, where literally you put together a simple checklist. And as you are walking through the home, you have your checklist, and you point out the fact that I know you don't like this carpeting, or I know you don't like the tile in the kitchen. Would you like hardwood? And if you like hardwood, would you like light hardwood or dark hardwood, and when you go into the kitchen, and you literally go from room to room to room, and you get the buyer to buy into not what the house is today, but what they can make this house in their own emotion. Because we think that people buy based on financial and economic reasons, but we really find out that they buy for emotional purposes. So let's give them the tools and let us be the facilitator of that tool to actually allow them to create the home of their dreams, room by room by room. Well, anyway, I left, and about 30 days later my phone rang, and I picked it up, and this woman said, it worked. It really, truly worked. And I said, what worked? And she told me who she was. And she literally took that checklist, found out where the buyer wanted to live, why the buyer wanted to live in that area, and she took the buyer to 2 houses, walked them through it, used the checklist. The buyer signed a contract and closed in 37 days. Real live situation. So these are just some tips. I hope that you got some value out of it, especially the value of taking your talents and spending more time on the listing side of the equation and building a team so that you don't have to do this by yourself, and that by doing so you're going to get more partners, and by having more partners you're going to get more referrals, and more referrals mean more satisfied closings and greater commission dollars. So with that, Pam, I'd like to turn it over to you.
Great, thank you. We just have a couple more minutes left. We want to go over where you can find some additional information. You can find FHA information on www.hud.gov. That's also the place where you can find a list of local HUD consultants. The Fannie Mae website is www.efanniemae.com for the Home Path product, the Home Style product. The Home Path website is www.homepath.com. Now, that's a product we didn't mention. Home Path is Fannie Mae owned homes that has a renovation rider as well, and it's a renovation product. Fannie Mae has decided to discontinue that product with all contracts that have to be written by October 6, 2014, and delivered to Fannie Mae by March 15th, 2015. Now, if you want additional information on your Home Path discontinued dates and when Remin is going to, how long Remin is going to allow to Home Path renovation loans to be submitted, you can contact your Remin AE. You can also find additional information regarding Remin on the wholesale website at www.reminwholesale.com. And Remin AE, like Frank had mentioned before, we do have an array of products. You can find all additional guidelines on Remin Wholesale, as well as contacting, like I said, your Remin AE. And they can answer all of your renovation questions for you. Now, we did receive a lot of questions while the presentation was going on, and we are running out of time. We are going to have time for just a couple. So, Steve, if you don't mind, I'm going to ask you some of the questions that did come up. And just to remind everyone, if we do not get to your question, because we are not going to get to all of them, a copy of all the questions and answers will be sent to you in your email with a copy of this presentation. So, Steve, who determines the as-is value and the after-improved value, and how is it determined?
Actually, the appraiser is the one who determines the after-improved value. Remember, we're not really concerned as far as the as-is value. So in order to order the appraisal, you need either a contractor's bid or a consultant's feasibility study, because the appraiser is only going to focus on what that house is going to look like when the construction is done. Does that answer the question?
Yes, it does. Can the borrowers do the work themselves?
You know, both Fannie Mae and FHA have what is known as a self-help or do-it-yourself feature, but both agencies, they really discourage it, and they put so many rules and regulations into play. You don't really see that much of it. Matter of fact, you see very little of it. So the answer is, do they allow it? But yes, very limited. For an example, Remember on the home style product where you said you can go up to 50% of the after improved value, Pam?
Yeah.
With the Fannie Mae Do-It-Yourself program, you can only go 10%. So you
Right.
see how they say yes, but then they make it very difficult for it ever to really happen.
Great. Thank you. I'm going to ask one more question. I know we have a bunch more. Like I said, it'll be sent out with the copy of the presentation before we throw it back to Frank for closing. But we have someone came up with a scenario that the borrower wanted to renovate their kitchen. And they wanted to know, are the borrowers allowed to finance appliances into any other renovation products?
Yes. You know, we said before, earlier in the presentation, that's allowed all the time with FHA. With FHA, you don't even need to do a kitchen remodel. You know, you can just use appliances, and with the FHA 203K, that's okay. But with Fannie Mae, it's a little different. With Fannie Mae, in order to include appliances in the transaction, you need a full kitchen remodel. So the answer is, if you're doing a full kitchen remodel, you can add appliances for both FHA as well as Fannie Mae. If you're not doing a kitchen remodel, you can only use the FHA product. Does that make sense?
It does. Thank you very much. And Frank, if you want to finish up with the closing, please.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Pam. So just as Pam had mentioned, a lot of your questions that did not go unanswered, and I know you guys had a lot of them, you're going to get a copy of those answers as well as a copy of this presentation that we all went through today. If you don't feel like waiting, you can always reach out to your account executive or reach out to us at RenovantWholesale.com, and we can get those questions answered for you rather quickly. I just want to say again, thank you to everyone, Beverly, National Mortgage Professional Magazine, Steve and Pam. Fantastic job again as always. And thank you again to everyone that sat in with us. And if you see us in Vegas next month, come wish us a happy birthday. And that's it from my end. Thank you so much, everyone. I really appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day, and we hope to see you on the next webinar.